We're live?
We're going?
Ooh, that delay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a delay. What's going on, guys? It's been a while since we did anything live. Give us a quick second as we're waiting for us to have access to comments. I don't know how we're going to pull that up.
How does the internet work?
Yeah. But we want to be able... Oh, there we go. All right. We want to be able to see what you guys have to say back to everything that we're going to talk about. But in today's live, if you guys recall, I used to go live with my buddy Adam before he ditched me and went up to Central. So I decided this year that we would go live with Alex. If you guys don't know Alex, what do you do for me, Alex?
Everything that you don't want to do.
That's pretty accurate.
So that includes, I guess I should actually answer the question.
Yeah,
that includes mostly like for your commercial work, I'll do all the editing for that. Any like the high-end retouching for that. Any high-end retouching for any shoots that go down. So any like portrait work and things like that. And then all the way down to like video edits, which if they're smaller and quicker, it's sometimes less time to just literally have him do it than to send it over. But if you ever see anything heavily memed or incredibly cringy in the edit, that was me.
Yep. Yeah, he likes to make me look like a doofus as often as possible. So like the nerdy glasses that drop down. Actually, I don't know that I ever published that video.
With the spreadsheets?
Did I?
Maybe.
I don't know. Because wasn't I wearing a button down? I think I know what video that was that you put that in.
You must have because Rebecca saw it.
That's true.
And it's her favorite thing.
Anyways, in today's video, we wanted to talk about, kind of look back at 2019, talk about the gear that came out throughout the year, and also look forward what we're looking for. Now, we're both Sony shooters.
Yeah.
So this does lean a little bit in that direction.
All the way.
But we do want to kind of talk about what the other camera companies are doing a little bit, at least with regards to Nikon and Canon. Not so much.
Just a little bit. Maybe. This might be the last year that we talk about that.
Yeah. Not so much like Panasonic or Fuji. I'm kind of lost with those systems lately.
Yeah.
I haven't really been following them. Sony is whack. All right. You're going to love today's episode. So I guess we'll start with the big body that Sony released in 2019. It's something that I've been considering.
That we've put in a lot of work to try to lasso in.
Yeah, not so much. I could have already jumped on it, but yeah. I wanted to before Peru. This is the Sony A7R IV. I believe is that the only body that it's the only full frame body they released last year, right?
Yeah, they put out 300 APS-C bodies and then one full frame.
Yeah. So the A7R IV, which seems a little strange. I think most of us thought that the A7S III was coming back. I think most of us thought that the A7S III was going to be the first body that we saw, full frame body that we saw updated from Sony. Oh no, they did the A9 Mark II.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Which is not for plebs like me.
Yeah, so. Not for us. Yeah, we're not sports shooters, so really the A9 is just kind of lost as an upgrade to us. Although there are real benefits to like wedding shooters even. You know, you can actually get away with using that electronic shutter for a lot of your day. But for me, I just don't see the benefit. But let's talk about the A7R IV. Tremendous leap in megapixels.
Yeah. Kind
of daunting of an idea to upgrade to for workflow reasons. Everything else I thought was pretty mild. You know, they maintained the specs of the A7R IV while adding megapixels essentially. But you know, no big leaps in like dynamic range or anything like that, which they're already so high up there that really can't expect them to go much more. But do you have any interest in getting an A7R IV? You have two A7 Mark IIIs now.
Yeah, well, and I'm probably not in the most common situation where I'm probably going to be shooting. My demand for shooting, like I'll be shooting a lot next year or this year, but like my demand is probably lower, honestly. So like my A7 IIIs are now sweet. They're very like, it's finally like come to fruition why I purchased these damn things, why I made the switch. But for me, what's most exciting about the A7R IV is one, the things about it that we hope to see on future cameras, you know, so like what an A7 IV would have.
Yeah.
But then also even just small updates that I can't imagine can't be applied in a firmware update, like the focus points, the small ergonomics that I think those are I'm more excited about.
I am kind of unwilling to buy the A7R IV until they add the red focus square to the A7R Mark III and the A7 Mark III, which I honestly haven't looked at like firmware updates in like 6 weeks. I know they quickly did it to the A9.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I didn't know they actually. Okay.
Yeah, they
Interesting.
actually did. So like that's my holdout. Now to me, when they switched to a red focus point, that was like an admission of guilt. They were like, "Oh, we got it wrong."
Yeah.
And it's also one of the simplest things you can do. They've literally got to change like hex codes in the firmware
Yeah.
to give you those options. It's not a really dramatic change. Ernest, I switched from Nikon in early 2018. I had when I left Nikon, I was shooting two D750s and two, yeah.
Wait,
750s.
2018 or 2017?
2018.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, I've had Sony for 2 years now. Yeah, so I had two Nikon D750s. Before that, I had the D810, but the D750 worked better for my workflow. But then video demand went up. At the time, Sony was pretty much the leader in video. It's not really the case in mirrorless anymore. But yeah, the D750s just weren't cutting it. I wanted the EVF technology, and Nikon at the time wasn't getting off of their ass to actually get a mirrorless out. So yeah, and now I'm trying to think, like, if I would have waited a year and a half, I still wouldn't be satisfied with Nikon today just
Yeah.
because of the single card slot. Like, that just doesn't do it for me with weddings. So same kind of extends to Canon as well. So I'd still be holding out with Nikon gear to this day. Probably still shooting D750s if I didn't switch to Sony.
It's so weird because I feel like they're so. I have this weird idea that the Nikons are so limited in the video set. But would you be able to have even kept up video wise with your Nikon gear?
No, I mean, like things like 4K and
Because
just
it's not even a matter of like
usability.
it's better. It's like there's just options you didn't have.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know?
autofocus performance in video alone on the D750 just pales in comparison
Yeah.
to what you're able to do with Sony. So, there was, I think, some other things that they changed on the Sony. Obviously, the ergonomics. So the thumb dial, huge improvement. Absolutely love it. Bigger grip, love that too. And then I think they added eye autofocus in 4K, or face detect / eye autofocus in 4K, which would be really welcome because I do miss that when I'm shooting video. There's sometimes where I'd love to just track a face and don't have the option because we're shooting in 4K. So for me, the A7R IV, it's likely in my near future.
Yeah,
Like probably,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, probably within the next 6 months, I will eventually purchase one. But I'm just kind of waiting for them to fix my old bodies with that red focus square.
Yeah.
I want that too. But the problem,
Before you get rid of.
yeah, the problem that I'm inevitably going to face though is I know as soon as I'm switched to that A7R IV, I'm going to feel like my Mark III and my 7R III are steps down because of the ergonomics.
100%.
Right, so it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable. Whereas right now, I'm comfortable using the A7 Mark III and A7R Mark III back and forth because they're identical.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm finding myself using two bodies less and less because I'm shooting a lot less weddings and a lot more commercial work. So I'm really only using the A7R these days.
Starting to feel like a almost bougie backup for me too. As soon as weddings go, it's like, what are you doing, little guy?
Yeah. What is this
Collecting
for?
dust.
So other than that, I mean, we've got a few other Sony things to talk about.
Before it, we get too
and
slappy.
then we kind of go into other things. And this is the Sony 135 and the 24. So 135 1.8 G Master, 24 f1.4 G Master. Those two lenses are incredible. They are absolutely incredible. Such to the point that if Sony tomorrow was like, hey, we've got a 35-1.4, a 50-1.4, and an 85-1.4 Mark II, I would switch. I would buy all three. I'd get rid of my Zeiss. Like they're focusing on making them faster, on lighter.
Yeah.
Lighter is a huge key. Like that 135, that 24, those are both so light for the focal length, and they're the best two lenses that I own. And they've kind of completely changed my preferred focal lengths. Like up till mid last year, I'd say I was 85-35, 90% of the time. And now I'm much more likely to be 24, 50, or 135.
Well, and even just on my end, to be as dazzled as I am, and I don't own them, you know, like just on the retouching side and like the editing side, the like performance is crazy.
Yeah.
Just like the clarity is one, that's great. The Zeisses are gorgeous. I mean, they're gorgeous, but they're also little tanks. And just the amount of like, it's just a noticeably higher percentage of in-focus shots, of just crystal clear shots that it's weird when you're like sitting there tapping through on like retouching edits and you're stopping and it's like, okay, I gotta take a moment to just be dazzled by this image, you know, which is a little extra, but is still the case. And it is kind of crazy like what you're able to accomplish with those. And I do think what's kind of set it up for like an absolute slam dunk is the 135 experience you had immediately previous to that. So I feel like the expectations were already like lowered, so that it was just such an absolute swish, you know.
Right. Yeah, I was not exactly thrilled with my 105. Me and Sigma Art do not get along like at all. I mean, this goes back to 135 on Nikon, 50, 35, 1.4. I mean, I have had 5 or 6 Sigma Art lenses.
You've got to be in a special club where they send you the good copies.
Yeah, you only get the good version. That's the most peculiar thing about it is like the difference in opinion across the internet.
But they're verifiable on either side.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing.
You can get great results. Sometimes I hit with that 105 and that thing looks amazing, but it's the percentage of hits that bothers me. And somebody was asking, isn't this channel about Godox lights specifically? No. It's about whatever I want it to be about. Yes, I run. Yeah, yes, I talk about Godox lights a lot, and that's probably what a majority of the subscribers are here for. But yeah, as Ike said, it's a photography channel, all things photography included, and we're starting something new. And just want to chat. Yeah, so Sigma for me has been really rough, and I have been on, apparently I'm on the list of like, hey, just send this jerk a bad copy time and time again. But I mean, I've bought used ones. I bought them brand new straight from Sigma. The 105 that I have actually is probably one of the earliest versions of it, like because it was sent to somebody who actually reviewed it before it came out.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, and then he switched systems, so then he couldn't even use it afterwards. So maybe that's part of the reason. But man, I think it's like night and day in terms of accuracy. I do think the 105 can produce a more spectacular image. Like if everything goes right, or maybe you're manually focusing in studio, super shallow depth of field, it does have a more special characteristic. The 135 though is just far more accurate, so I have a lot more confidence in shooting with it. And again, if we get 50s, 85, 35, other focal length options and updated G Master lenses, I see the difference now versus my 85. Like I used to love my 85, and I still do. It's a good lens,
it really is.
But the 135 is just another step up in terms of quality. So really like what they're doing. Shout out to Big Ma. Still want the 135. Yeah, and I think, didn't the 135 from Sigma, didn't that like make all this noise as like one of the sharpest lenses ever tested and everything?
I think so.
And I got the worst copy ever. This is back when I shot Nikon, to such to the point where I said, no, I'm not touching Sigma Art until they get their act together.
Well, and that was, I mean, we have our like absolute disdain for the adapted ones, like with the flange and the rivets on them. Like that whole setup was bad. But like to even get it from the native like formats was not good.
Well, I mean, there is no, so even native to Nikon was not good, right?
Well, I mean, when I say native, just the, am I crazy? Like, they just took lenses they already had, just lopped off the bottom and just put in the mirrorless.
Put an adapter onto their existing art lenses so that they could more quickly make their art lens lineup available for mirrorless users. It seems like that's
exactly where their performance was at like an adapted lens level.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that sounds accurate. And so maybe, I know some people, like they've got a new 24-70, right? That's specifically designed for E-mount.
And Gerald Undone loves it, so that's all I need to know.
Yeah, yeah.
All I need to know.
He's ridiculous. So if it gets his stamp of approval, maybe it's something that we need to check out. 24-70 is probably my least favorite lens that I own right now. My Sony 24-70.
Yeah.
So like I could totally see. I'm toying with the idea of either Tamron.
There's nothing wrong with it either. It's just not.
It's
exciting.
Not that great.
Yeah.
It's just not as good as all the rest of them.
Exciting.
What camera are we using for this stream? A7 Mark III. I had to look, and then the lens is Alex's. What is the focal length
17
again?
to 28.
17 to 28 from Tamron.
Yeah.
Which loves that. What is the best mirrorless mount? Nikon, Canon, Sony. Right now, it depends what you want to do. Like if one card slot does not impact you, then I think there's a case for for Canon and for Nikon.
I wonder, can we get the chat?
More so, what do you mean? You see the chat?
Yeah, but can we get
full screen?
Oh well.
I just lost my train of thought. But I think that they're all great. I really don't think you can go wrong. The one system that I don't really care for right now, full frame, is Panasonic, because they're not really leaning into phase detection. They're on this AI contrast detect that just
Yeah, which is unfortunate. There's
Feels bumbly, but
plenty of pros otherwise.
Yeah, and I think it could be a great system, and they've got so much support in terms of lenses with the lens alliance between Leica, Sigma, and Panasonic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I could make a case for any camera. I think if we're talking Nikon, Canon, if we're talking big two, I think Canon gets the edge for me right now.
Yeah.
I just think that they're being more interesting with their lenses. Like they're developing new standards with these f2 primes. They're enormous. Yeah, they're absolutely enormous, but I don't know. I find it interesting. Nikon's offerings thus far have bored me a little bit. Looks like their sensor quality is still amazing. It's like the benefit. I feel like Canon's kind of got a little bit of an edge on like features and what they're going after, and then Nikon just has the IQ, like the sensor quality, because they're using Sony sensors. But Sony kind of needs to get off their butt a little bit, like specifically with the A7S Mark III.
Yeah.
We need to see some added video features. They really need to catch up to the field in terms of video features, but I think they're dominating as a stills camera. So that's why I stick with Sony.
I haven't given up hope for Nikon or Canon, just because, you know, Nikon I don't have a lot of interest in. I've never had like a pull towards them, but just what they did immediately before the mirrorless boom with the 750, the 810, and the 850 is, I mean, you can't deny that those are absolutely monsters of cameras. So it's like, it's clear they're capable of making behemoths, you know, that are pretty much unchallenged in their realm. But it's just, what are we dealing with now? Why hasn't it switched naturally? Why does it feel like they're starting over, you know, with mirrorless?
Yeah, and I have one big problem with Nikon, and that is like I see two types of articles that go up on Petapixel every time that they have a new product announced, and one is, we're sorry, we can't keep up with the tremendous amount of demand for our new product. Yeah. And then
okay, Nintendo.
And then opposingly, like a week later, Nikon's reporting like historic losses and has to shrink their camera division. It's like one of these things isn't true. Either like you can't keep up with demand, or no one's ordering your crap. I don't know. I don't know which it is, particularly. But like, I don't know. Like people, this goes back to the D850. Like they could not get that D850 out fast enough, and they actually had the demand for it. They said the same thing about the Z7.
Yeah.
And
I forgot about the 850 being.
I haven't even seen a Z7 in the wild yet.
Nor have I.
I know people that use them. I know other YouTubers that use them, but I've yet to see like walk up on another wedding photographer or just see a tourist or anything. I've not seen anyone. I've seen the EOS R in the wild and the RP.
Well, I've only seen them from people that got the industry discount, but that's neither here nor there. It's irrelevant.
We won't talk about that.
Somebody asked if the boom mic's in stereo. We're in mono, right?
I should be in mono.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what the mic's in, but
soft comment on quality. I think we sound good.
Yeah, let us know if we don't sound good. We tweaked the audio quite a bit, but it's also the first time we've ever used the setup. Next week, we do plan on kind of repeating this, and finally the audio solution that I've been waiting for forever is available, and that is the Pico Gear Pico mic. It's completely... That's something you hear a lot in Peru. It's a completely wireless lav that, like, not even a wire into a transmitter, but like that's all built into the actual lav microphone. And one of the problems that we have in here is that we only have one audio input into our live switcher that we really want to use.
We want to use.
Yeah, because we actually get access to like a compressor and noise gate and everything, whereas if we go into our audio interface, we only really have gain to work with, so there's like no low cutoff or anything like that. But with this Pico mic, then we would actually be able to run two lavs into it, which helps not only this, but also solves a lot of problems and wires for our live stream shooting. So definitely looking to bring that back once we have that audio solution. So that's probably why we wanted to jump back in here today and just kind of get our bearings straight again with going live, because
feeling a little rusty.
Yeah, definitely. But we're gonna go live maybe immediately after this. My wife just sent me a picture of my dog, and my dog's like right arm is twice the size as normal, so we don't know if he got bit by something. And she's at the vet right now, so pending me getting a call that like I have to go tend to this emergency, we're gonna go live again shooting today. We're gonna be playing with some flags, shooting a male model. Should be interesting, but looking forward to that audio solution. I am all over the place. I say this all the time. Sony just needs to get rid of the A7S III and put the better video features in the A7 Mark IV. I don't disagree with you at all.
I
What's
think
the
about that all the
purpose?
time. Yeah, Ike, that's a good point.
Yeah, what's the purpose of? I mean, they're probably going to jump on megapixels on this A7S III anyway. Go to 30.
Damn, that's a really good point, though, is just using an external recorder anyway. Like, to just have it be capable using an external recorder, because anybody that has that demand is going to be using one anyway.
Yeah,
Most
you're going to
likely.
need a
Like,
monitor. Yeah, because you're looking into live LUTs and shooting
Yeah.
log and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that would be really good. There really is no point to maintaining
Other
the
than
two
having
separate
that
systems.
smaller megapixel. That was obviously the big reason.
Oh wait, was it 12?
It was 12. That was the reason why, like, even for the S3 and the the R4 and the Mark IV, the ISO performance is, like, at their best is neck and neck with the S3.
Okay.
Which is still kind of crazy because it's a few years old now.
4?
Yeah,
5?
that's
I don't know,
crazy.
something like that.
But that's what I think is the main reason why, is because that 12 megapixels.
That makes sense. Like the probably larger pixels.
You're not wrong. We don't really. I mean, that's the other caveat to all of this. Like, even when we talk about the best mirrorless mount system and stuff like that, is it's like we could sit here and rank like the worst one, and the worst one is still magic. You know? Like,
Yeah. I've said everybody who's like freaking out about like, oh, which one do I need? Like, which camera do I need to be good? And it's like, if you can't be good with what's on the market,
Yeah.
or the problem, not the camera at all. Like, everything is freaking great these days.
Or like the YouTube conundrum, like, what's the best way? And it's like the video you put out. That's the best one. Like,
Right.
the best workout you do is the one you're actually gonna do. You
Right.
know? Like, just grab it and go, man.
Oh, all right. Let's get off of the Sony topic a
little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah. Well, actually, we want to wrap up with Sony and just say that we're loving all this third-party support that it's now
Yes.
getting. You're really taking advantage of the Tamron offerings. You've got the 17 to 28 and the 28 to 75 f2.8.
Yep.
Loving both of those, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No complaints at all.
The Rokinon 85-1.4 is like making some serious noise. A lot of people saying that's an awesome lens. Francisco, if you're still here, I know you're a user of the 35. I was a user of the 35, and then I got the Zeiss. And out of the Zeiss lenses that I own, the 35 was probably like the smallest upgrade. I have the Zeiss 50. That's a tremendous upgrade from other 50 offerings. At least at 1.4. And then the Zeiss 35, however, is not a tremendous leap, I don't think, from the 35 1.4 from Rokinon. The Rokinon was perfectly fine. I don't feel like I got more in-focus shots switching to the Zeiss or anything.
Yeah.
So this 85, people are saying even better. It's ridiculously cheap for the price.
Yeah, the only reason I'm even more familiar with it is because they already had like the manual versions, and they don't like have a solid renaming scheme, so that when you talk about them, like, they've had it for a while. They've had a manual version for a while.
AF.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
It's-
naming scheme.
yeah.
AF.
85 as
Francisco, do you have the 85 now too?
yo.
Yeah, if you could give us a quick report on what that thing's like, because I know you had the 85 G Master, and I have it now, and I have yours now, but and I think you were using the 85 FE for a while. So yeah, if you got a quick little thing, I'd love to know, just because when people are asking me, I still tell people, even though I have the 35 Zeiss, check out the Samyang before you invest the extra money into the Zeiss.
Well, it's such a low effort, like a low risk way to check out if that like focal length is for you. You
Yeah,
know? Which
yeah.
is exactly what I did. You
Yeah,
know, I
right.
absolutely loved rocking the 35.
Right.
until,
Right
like,
now, you could probably buy the 85 new, try it out for a month, and sell it for $50 less.
Yeah.
You get a 1 month rental for $50. I do think Sony needs a version 2 85 G Master. I didn't think anything was wrong with my 85 G Master until I got the 135, and now I'm like, make it
Yeah.
really quick, please.
Yeah.
Apply this
I mean,
to the 24
the
to
1.8 is
70.
amazing too.
Yeah.
So especially
Oh
for
yeah,
the
you
money
still
now.
have my 1.8, my old 1.8.
Somebody asks, do you?
So hold on, Sony A7 III iCup keeps falling off.
We got a solution for you, and you're not gonna like it. My solution is that I bought like 4 2-packs of iCups, although mine just never really come off for some weird reason.
Is this on autofocus?
Should be.
So
find out soon.
I have mine glued directly on. So there's glue all underneath here before I actually put it on. And then, but the best part, let's see, is this autofocusing?
And also, where is the autofocus?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
it's on face detect.
It's doing a really good job.
I think it's just going to always prioritize your face, though.
It's okay.
And you don't have fast access to. All right, hide your face, Alex.
Well, and then also we can do.
All right, so that's how I have it. It's a piece of black tape right here going down into all the way down to the back so that there's as much surface area as possible back here. And I haven't even changed the gaff tape here in like a year. I've just left it like this forever. If you're a D750 user, eye cups were a real problem too, and this was the solution back then. So,
but then somebody asks, where'd you go, buddy? Trishan asks, do you think Sony is waiting for the new Canon EOS R to launch before they announce the A7S III/4? Or the A7 IV, okay.
like, are they waiting to like rebut?
Didn't we hear at like WPPI last year that like they were just waiting, they were sitting on something, and they were just waiting to like drop a bomb?
Yeah, but was that the A7R IV?
Probably. But also, like, what were they waiting for? Because then the EOS and the Nikon proceeded to come out and they didn't release anything.
Yeah,
so
I
that
mean,
was probably a rumor.
I think part of Sony's strategy right now, you could see that when the mirrorless race was heating up, they were releasing a lot. A7 Mark III, A7R Mark III. They made tremendous work. They made tremendous work. We'll talk about that in a second, Francisco. Paul C. Buff is dead.
Ultimate 2020 prediction.
Paul C. Buff as a company is dead.
There we go.
All right.
No CCs on this.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Sony strategy. They were crushing it. I feel like the A7 Mark III was like, let's get as many people. That was probably a loss leader body. Like they packed so much into the A7 Mark III. Yeah,
100%.
at the time, that was probably a loss leader body.
Even just by like how it cannibalized what was already out, not just like price of the unit itself.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it drove a lot of people to like, oh, do I even need the R3? So with that, they acquired as many users as possible, and I think they were prepared to release more should Nikon and Canon have entered the field and like also put out really high quality bodies. A lot of people were expecting, like, we've seen Sony bumble for 5 years, like on not having dual card slots or not having the autofocus performance or EVF performance. So you kind of thought Canon and Nikon already had Sony paving the way and you have their mistakes to look at, and then they didn't quite deliver on all fronts. Like dual card slots alone probably cut both those body sales in half.
Yeah.
You would have had so many more people able to switch had they both launched.
You can't talk
with
about
that.
them without at least 80% of the comments being no dual card slot.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah. So I do think Sony's kind of sitting, just like, oh, we've acquired so many people. You know, we're already getting everybody. They've got a huge social media presence in terms of like people in the spotlight using them.
Being way alpha.
Yeah, being alpha. And so, yeah, I don't think that they really have to make a dramatic move or a performance move in order to really jump with more people. But yeah, once Canon, if Canon drops a dual card slot 75 megapixel body, like, ooh, then I think you're going to see some more movement from Sony.
Try an EOS R for focusing. Not only that, but they also have had like significant firmware updates since then, which I feel like really says a lot about where you're at in the release schedule, that you're like pushing something out so quickly that after it comes out, you're able to release a firmware update that significantly increases the performance.
Right. Like how long was that firmware update in the works?
Yeah.
And like you had to like...
And could you have baked it twice as long?
Right.
It's like that whole in the gaming industry when they say like you can delay a game and it's good and it'll be good forever, or you can release a bad game and it's a bad game forever, even if you fix it later. You know? And it's like a lot of our opinions are going to be based off of initial release anyway, and there's never as much hype about firmware updates. You know. Yeah. It just doesn't go down that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, it misses the mark. I mean, honestly, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I don't even really pay attention to firmware updates unless it like so. They could have like slipped out the A7 Mark III red focus square, and like if I don't see a Facebook post on it, it's not like I get an email about my firmware updates and rush to do it. We're all now beta testers. That's very true these days. Be beta.
Okay, less about Sony, right?
Yeah.
A little bit less about Sony.
So let's talk about 2019 and lighting. I think 2019 was the year of three things: 8400 Pro, Easy Lock modifiers, and budget LED
LEDs.
options. Yeah. Budget LED. From the start, the 8400 Pro. It's weird because I didn't think it would hit such a sweet spot when it came out. When it came out, I was like, it's so close to the 600 Pro, everyone's just going to keep using the 600 Pro. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's because Francisco and Eli both share BTSs with the 400 Pro constantly, and that's always on light shapers, influencing the entire market. Maybe that's what it is. But the 8400 Pro hit this sweet spot, and it was just the most popular light. It seems like the light that everybody is out there using.
That group buy was nuts. That was such an eye opener.
Yeah, when Francisco and I did the group buy, it was I forget how many hundreds of people purchased the 400 Pro.
Purchased a light that'd been out for a year.
Yeah, exactly. The light had been sitting out for the year. Obviously, the discount was great on the group buy, but then even on Black Friday, tons more people purchased it because there was exceptional deals on it again. Right. But it's got to be the most used strobe for on location work on the market today, at this point. Yeah. And I know it won like a TIPO award, so it was like, considered the best new lighting product and everything. See, I bought it because of FGH. Yep. Francisco recommends it 24/7. Yeah, and now when I go through on like the Godox user group when I'm managing that Instagram or whatever, is just ridiculous how many posts are tagged 8400 Pro. Like, it's not about the 8600 anymore or the 8600 Pro even. It's all about the 8400 Pro. And what do you always see on it? The Glow Easy Locks, which I think for the same reason, influential people using them. But on top of that, they are just a ridiculous bargain. Yeah. I have, and I was expecting, my thought process when I first got the Glow Easy Lock line was, okay, these are great, but at this price, it's not going to last, right?
No, I fully expected mine to fall apart. And at the price, didn't even feel bad. It's like if I buy one of these a year at that price, it'd be fine. And I got two that I've taken to at least 100 weddings now in over 2 years, and they look the same.
Yeah. My
bananas.
My 28 specifically, not only is it just a comfortable and proper product for me to use, it fits really well for what I do at the university because I'm doing a lot of single light work. Not single light, but single person, single subject work, where a 28-inch softbox with their branding and everything, like highlighting a person and making them prominent out of a background. The 28 just works perfectly because it doesn't spill a lot on backgrounds. I can walk through doorways with it, which seems dumb, but is my favorite thing about it is that I don't have to close it and open it every time I walk through a doorway, because when I'm dancing around like lab tables at a university with like $10,000 microscopes and like beakers of crap I can't pronounce all the time, it's important that I'm not going to be knocking that stuff over. So like having a manageable size softbox rather than like a 4-foot everywhere, I would love to use a 4-foot everywhere. But 28 is just a really nice compromise that still gives me the qualities that I'm looking for. And so it became like a mission for me to destroy it. Yeah. Right? Because it was in my car constantly for weddings. It was baked. Yeah, it was getting baked in the summer, frozen in the winter, rattling around constantly. The suspension on my Scion TC is not that great, so not one of that car's highlights. So yeah, it suffered abuse in terms of storage. It was constantly being abused, and then I'm opening it and closing it constantly. Alex, what do you call me all the time? What do I do frequently with my gear?
You YouTube yeet it?
Yeah, YouTube yeet it. I throw myself all the time. Not usually like cameras and lenses.
Not usually.
Occasionally. But lighting gear, like modifiers, anything that is just like raw materials, no electronics, I throw this crap out of it. That being said, my 28 has suffered so much abuse, so many shoots, probably about the same amount of weddings as you, and a good 200 editorial sessions. Yeah.
And, you use yours more for sure.
And that thing's fine. Like everything about it's fine. I think I've got one slight little like line wearing where I like rubbed against the corner of a table where you can actually like, if you see light goes through it, if the flash goes off on the inside. But other than that, it looks and functions great.
Somebody mentioned loving their cheetah modifiers, and I gotta clarify that my two most used for the past year were a cheetah and a glow of the exact same size and shape. The cheetah's technically, if you look, noticeably more worn. But it also, I mean, I had it probably a year longer, so it's not really fair. I love that thing too. It's also just
Yeah, I
fine.
mean, I think that these are essentially the same products and mechanism design. I don't know that all the materials are the same. I know that the external material is not the same. It's a
Yeah.
much thinner nylon on the Glow Easy Locks. I did an entire 2-hour live stream comparing those two, so I'm not going to rehash this
Yeah.
too much. But the Cheetah stuff is fantastic too. The only qualm about Cheetah products was that during the highlight of me like recommending them to everybody, they were never in stock.
Yeah,
You know,
that was such a big
and Glow Easy Lock
sour point.
always was. So yeah, it was a little rough. People were like, I have to wait like 3 months to get this, but it seems to the demand, I guess, has like leveled out now because they're not new. So everybody who initially bought it has theirs by now. So now you can buy either. And I did a review not too long ago. Love their new 48-inch Pro Rice Bowl or Rice Bowl P.
Yeah.
That's the one that has the focusing rod and everything. Probably outside of parabolics, it's your best option for a focusable modifier in like the budget range.
I think it's next level.
Yeah, because the 51-inch Glow Grand Para that we're using to light us is a pretty penny. So it's a much better budget option.
Back to the 400. Somebody mentioned that the extension head wasn't out yet, and then somebody just said that it is now.
It is.
That's crazy. That took
It took way too long. Way too long. And my biggest problem with that is that when you first saw the 400 Pro be announced, what was in there?
Was it
AC
yeah,
adapter
that's
is an
funny.
option. Extension head is an
Yeah.
option. So you buy into this system, buy into this light, you don't expect to wait, what has it been, a year and a half, 2 years?
Yep.
To have an AC adapter available to you.
It is unfortunate that it seems like now that they have a handful of solid lights that are high demand, that the accessory lineup is not as consistent as far as inventory.
Yeah, and credit to Godox, because one thing that they do better than anybody else in terms of lighting is they do their best to make sure that you can get access to, you can cross anything. So for instance, like they release the H200R modifiers, the magnetic modifiers.
Yeah.
They give you an SR1 adapter
Yeah.
that works for any of their other rectangle speed lights. Little things like that, adapting, cross compatibility, just make the photographers have to spend less money. Like if you really don't need to upgrade as often, instead of forcing you into buying new accessories for everything. So I really appreciate that. But man, I don't know why that took 2 years. Like you've had the design before for the 600 Pro, for the original 600, and it seems, I don't have one yet, but it seems like it is a little bit of a design change to it. So I don't know why it took so long. That was kind of inexcusable, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's been my biggest criticism of Godox so far, is just like when you show these things as being available, especially as a new product, you really got to deliver on them quickly.
Francisco asks, he said, I should know this, but did they release the Profoto and Ellen Chrome mounts? Did they come out at release or down the line?
I think those have been available forever. The problem with the those, what he's talking about is the 400 Pro, by default has its own unique mount, and then
And
it
it's
comes
just
with,
like a recessed Bowens, basically, right?
it's not Bowens.
It's not Bowens. Oh, wait,
Well,
wait. Oh,
But it comes with
Interesting.
a Bowens adapter
okay.
that you can screw directly on. And so if you're already invested in all Bowens modifiers, then yeah. But the other thing that was kind of launched with that was brown color, Ellen Chrome, and Profoto accessories instead of Bowens. So you could mount any of those systems. The trouble is I don't think any of the US distributors carry those. So I think they've existed forever because we saw them on the Photokina showroom floor in 2018 in September, a year and 4 months ago. So they've existed. I just don't think that they're carried in the U.S. And that could be like some type of, I don't know, like
Like a patent or copyright issue?
I don't know if there's like an issue there in terms of distributing an adapter. But I mean, I can get a Pulsey buff to Godox adapter or Bowens adapter. No
Do you know if
problem.
that's true for Amazon? Like, can you track them down on Amazon? That seems like it's just obscure enough to be kind of anywhere.
Amazon, I mean, people get away with selling stuff that shouldn't be sold in the U.S.
That's
on
what I mean.
Amazon
I wonder
for
if
a
it's like
while.
an Adorama BH issue.
Right.
Like if they're like, if you sell that there, like we're gonna pull our lights from your store.
Right. Yeah, I don't exactly know what the deal is there, but yeah, they've been made forever. Cheetah Stand had a good 2019 as well. We just got done talking about Cheetah Stand, Kerwin.
Roll it back,
check
bro.
out, James, okay, so now people are saying that specs on the 400 Pro
Extension
head say no power loss, which would be tremendous. And so
does the 600 extension head have a noticeable? It's like point.
Yeah, the first one, the 600, had a significant like 0.4, 0.3 stops.
Yeah.
And then the 600 Pro was a little bit better. The EC200 for the Godox 8200 was back in the 0.3, 0.4 stop range. I think the way, from what somebody else tells me, I've gotten in trouble on this channel before for trying to pretend I'm an electrician, but I think if you can move the capacitor to the head and just use the power supply, then you don't have any loss. Like the loss occurs between the capacitor and then all that flash power traveling on the cable and then the flash firing. So maybe it does seem to have a different style as well, like a little bit more blocky. And this is what we're hoping that the 801200 incorporates, is capacitor in the actual head of the remote flash. Ooh, hasn't been news on that in a while.
For
Ernest.
the Profoto lawsuit on the V1. The Profoto lawsuit on the V1,
That was
a hot topic last year, but like also
huge.
Was it ever confirmed, or was it just like we're gonna sue you? Like, did it ever actually manifest as a genuine lawsuit?
No, they had no leg to stand on.
Right. Because I feel like it was literally like right when it came out, there was like, they're gonna get sued, and then all the information, all the discussion was based on that exact moment and no further actual information
or action.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there was. I think that was just Profoto puffing out their chest. Now, one of the things I said is like Godox really played with fire by calling it the V1, right?
Yeah.
Like you're giving it this naming structure so similar to your competition.
Which unfortunately I also get from a marketing standpoint, but
what, you accidentally hit the V instead of the A, and you found a Godox product instead of Profoto. Like, I don't think that there is a tangible benefit to that other than confusion. For me, I would have much rather seen it called the V Pro. Yes, thank you. And I believe Francisco and I, when we first saw it, if you guys recall, I actually broke on this channel that this was in development back in 2018, and we suggested when we were there that they should call it the V Pro because it had a lot of the Pro features, 10-stop increments, better flash head design, etc. They went with V1. And they played with fire with that. But I don't think that there was actually any... You can't patent round, right? You can't patent the shape. And it's a completely different device otherwise.
Can't patent a circle.
Right. If we sold merch, that would be a shirt.
Yeah.
So you can't... When you can't patent that, and obviously the interface, completely different. We've got a touch screen... a device that fits with everything else that Profoto does versus a completely 8-bit display. Not even like the display on the Godox is so simple, it's not touchscreen. Like, unless you're telling me the insides are somehow identical, which it wasn't even out yet for Profoto to make that claim.
Yeah.
Profoto just puffed out their chest, and
that's the
nothing
thing,
happened.
Is I feel like that light is... It's literally, I feel like it's a product of Profoto's actions, not the other way, like of Godox saying, oh, that's something like blah, blah, blah. It's like it was a no-brainer to do it when you're selling an on-camera flash for $1,000.
Right.
You're begging somebody to sell it at half that price and still have an insane markup, so why not even less than that? You know? It's like you're literally begging people to do it.
All right, we're making...
We gotta sell the shirts now.
Apparently, I've been so anti-merch, but apparently we're making that... I do think it's almost a game to Godox at this point, though, in terms of their response to Profoto, because that LED, that R1 LED, so they made Profoto made the C1, so the C1 LED, and then all of a sudden Godox was just like, boop, we have that too, and I think that's actually around getting announced now. About light shaping tools, I saw you were using a Mola. Can't remember the video. No good on budget way. It's not a Mola.
But it is.
But beauty dish that you're speaking of that
That
you've
never
seen
happened.
in BTS. Yeah, you did not see the mola. That light was gifted to me as something to try out, and then it actually couldn't be sold because it was too similar to somebody else's design.
Oh, and Jan, real quick, earlier he did ask us to talk about what we're looking forward to in 2020, and that's going to probably be the last part of this.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we will
that
talk
is
about that.
coming.
We kind of round out about everything. Can you make a hat better than Adorama's R2 hat? Sucks. It is. It's terrible. They've tried to get me to wear one. I think I went to help them out at their booth last year, and they're just like, like put it on, and I was like, no, never. Like, I am a hat guy, but it looks like
I think I was there for that.
it looks like you had like Illustrator, but chose to just draw it by hand anyway. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that hat.
So next would be weird cameras.
More these like special purpose
Yeah,
cameras
I think
that
this
we're
was.
starting to
I
feel
think this
more.
was the year that like special purpose or utility type cameras really started to shine. Which for the Osmo, specifically the Pocket, that came out in 2018, right?
Yeah. Late 2018,
summer,
and then
fall.
yeah, because
But still.
I got it in early 2019.
That's right.
Yeah, our Osmo Pocket. So we've I was using it a lot. We started relying on it more and more as it got firmware updates. Alex has a video coming out about this pretty soon. Yeah,
very soon.
and on this channel. But he's been the one that's actually been like hands-on with it more. But we've been loving the Osmo Pocket strictly for its size, but also its performance. Yes, you give up depth of field. Yes, it doesn't have great low light, but when you're out in daylight, it's perfect.
Good.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
good.
it's really good for what it does, and it just represents like you have to own another camera, but when it fits a specific need, it does it so well and unobtrusively.
Yeah.
One of the ways that we used it a lot was when we were in Peru. We didn't want
Just
to.
in travel in general.
Yeah.
Like, it opened up
Oh
possibilities.
yeah, in New York too. We
Yeah.
used it heavily in New York and in Peru, and we weren't gonna carry around a. Well, you brought your.
We weren't
gimbal
going to
to
carry
New
around
York.
another camera,
Yeah,
like an
but
A7
but like
on
a
a gimbal
Ronin
or,
SC on a gimbal with another A7. Yeah, it just adds a lot of weight. So just having that Osmo Pocket was fantastic. And then while in New York, we found another weird solution, which was trying out 360 for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't think I had ever played with it, so I hadn't really followed it. I know GoPro's done stuff, I know Insta's done stuff, and I know there's a lot of other players entering the market for 360 video. But oh my gosh, this is probably what I'm excited about most.
Yeah.
Is the Insta360 that I've been using. I want something better than the Insta360, which I'll make a video on why that is. But
Not a short video.
but in terms of a proof of concept, the Insta1X was probably my most exciting camera that I got in 2019 because it represents something that one of the struggles that I have with recording stuff on my work is that I'm always working with paid clients. So any time spent working on the video production instead of their photography production that they're paying for, I feel reflects badly on me and my business. Yeah. So if I'm to commit to making video on what I'm doing as a photographer, then that means either hiring somebody else to completely manage it, or risking my relationship with the client. And yeah, those are just both bad options. But
Yeah.
with 360 video, yes, it's all full auto, like you don't have a lot of manual control or anything like that. Yes,
Which sounds scarier than it is, by the way.
Yeah, it's
it
gotten
sounds
really good.
horrible at first, but it's actually fine.
Yeah, and we're getting these ridiculous resolutions of 5.7K. I now have something that I can stick pretty much anywhere. I've had some growing pains with learning where to position it, but and get everything in the environment. So I can talk about what it looks like outside or light coming in from this side of the room that typically wouldn't even be what I'm pointing my camera at. And it also gives me the benefit of being able to do this all later. So I can just stick it on, record, go start recording the session, come back to it, and just choose where the camera was pointed later. And that has been really awesome and really exciting. I just started getting in the swing of using it pretty much all the time at the university, and then we went on break, so I haven't shot for them in 2 weeks. But now I have a really viable solution where I don't have to have Alex come out and manage a video production, which is also ridiculous because he lives an hour away. I can just throw that 360 video up anywhere and actually film and get it. And it's so disposable to the point where I can film everything and then just come home, and if nothing interesting happened from that session, like, just bin it.
It's like, damn, I wasted that 8 seconds of putting it down.
Right, and that was it. So I'm really excited about 360 video. I do want to see, right now the Insta-1X is a 5.7K, the one that we're using. I would like to see 8K, which sounds so gratuitous, but when you're using 20% of this entire 360 video, 4K, 5.7K doesn't really go a long way. Like, you could probably make for a case for 16K, because then you could go in, to 200% anywhere and still have 1080p or 4K.
Which does have me curious, because Insta has dropped a few teasers about a product coming out on the 7th, or an announcement at least on the 7th, because we live in a future where we tease announcements of products instead of teasing products. But it looks like it's combining a drone, a 360 camera, and stabilized footage. So maybe that'll be the next tier, even though we're still catching up to this previous tier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious how a drone works on it. Like, if it just snaps into the bottom and then as soon as it detects that it's there, it gets out of that 360 field of view. And
I wonder if it's just a complete unit, like a
floating orb.
Yeah, or what I mean by that is like a...
Can't wait to drone indoors at the university.
Yeah, a DJI, where it's all housed together, but then how you achieve that with a mount that isn't taking up a huge chunk of the whatever.
Yeah, if you actually had like a 4-inch handle... And
what if it's literally just the selfie stick on
piece.
a shitty drone they bought?
It's just a drone with a 3/8 quarter, or a quarter 20 thread. Yeah, and you just screw in the selfie stick into it. That would actually be amazing.
Rolling back to the Osmo, Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Our Amy. She asked if the Osmo Pocket does photo at all, since she assumed it was just video, which it is. I would say 80%, 90% video, but I did get a chance to use it for panoramas.
Panorama. You've been hearing me say Adorama too much. Adorama.
For panoramas, and for I think you can do close to 360, like a photo, like a full whatever. And having something that stabilized is pretty good, and the the image quality on it isn't bad. Only
phone quality.
Yeah, for sure. And until there's something cheap that you could get to put on a phone or your camera that you could do, because it'll do the full tracking of multi image stitching, since it has its little gimbal on there, which is pretty slick. And until there's something cheap that we could put a phone or a camera on to do that, because there are the gigapixel, the pan heads and stuff that you can get, and those are probably 3 times as much as the Osmo is on its own. But so there are technically photo options. I just would never ever sell it as a photo unit in any capacity.
Yeah, video's what it's for sure. I mean, I'd rather use my phone than use that for a photo.
Can we segue into cameras, phone cameras?
Sure.
Because that, to me, is outside of work stuff, the most exciting thing was where phone photography has come in the past 2 years, but especially the past year and a half, even a year.
I also think with developments in lighting that it's getting more interesting quickly.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Somebody finally saw it. Oh man, yeah, we intentionally left that panda there the whole time.
But just in the sense that for our New York trip for that week, that was 5 dudes, 5 beautiful bald bearded men shooting nonstop, and I would say the vast majority of the pictures that were taken as a whole were with our phones.
I don't think I took
outside of the actual shoots.
Yeah, I don't think I took my even though we had it on us most of the time, I don't think I took my camera out for a shoot of New York City.
Yeah, and we even did some pretty dope shot, a little photo shoot with the
phones.
Yeah, the phones.
Yeah. Well, but we used the camera for that. Huh?
Didn't we use our phones for that? Weren't we swapping phones?
No, it was all shot on a Fuji. I still got to release that
video. That's right.
That's
right, because the black and white was so gorgeous.
We used it all. It was all LEDs. We used our phones as LEDs for a portrait
5
shoot.
Yeah, just screens, which was, I think, a hybrid of that was a Chris Berry inspiration, but also I think we were using the screens for phone or for food photography because we're insanely basic.
Yeah, it all started with Justin was at a dinner table photographing Korean food and requested that somebody use their phone display as the
Yeah.
light source rather than use the flashlight, because this gives you way more surface
bigger,
area,
yeah.
therefore softer light. And from that, it sparked Chris Berry to like, let's try portraits with phones.
Yeah.
And so we used a bunch of phone
So
displays.
if you
to do
see
these.
our black and white headshots, or Nader Abashab, who's pretty dope and you should check out anyway, Christopher Berry and Photo Warlock, we all have, I think we still all have matching
Yeah, on
black and white
Instagram,
portraits.
all of our headshots are from that session.
Yeah, lit exclusively with phone screens.
Yeah, and I gotta release that video. I completely forgot about it.
Maybe the Fuji was so small you just thought it was your phone. I've owned phones bigger than that Fuji before.
No,
so,
it was an
yeah.
XT3. That thing's pretty big. Yeah, but other than that, did I have my Pixel 4 for New York?
Yep.
Yeah, because I gave my
was
last one.
very
to go.
buggy.
It was very buggy when I was in New York, because I got it before the, if you guys don't know, Team Pixel.
It's so a rousing endorsement. And then the Team Pixel.
Team Pixel. It's been a semi-rough ride so far with my phone. Also, I didn't even show you the reason I have a case now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't miss this.
No, you don't even know.
What happened?
I dropped it.
Oh,
Glass back
I didn't even
home.
notice you had a case. That's so funny.
Yeah. Well,
It's time.
anyway.
And now it's only there to keep the shards from.
Yeah, I just don't want my phone to fall apart now. But yeah, it was,
You wouldn't be a basic bitch without a broken screen.
That's
though,
right.
Or broken glass,
yeah,
at least.
it's not the screen.
Right.
I can live with the back.
That would
Still
be
wirelessly charges, I'm fine. But yeah, I use my Pixel constantly for photos, and I've been really impressed with it. It's sad to say, like, I'm getting more and more comfortable these days with like auto features. You know, auto on the Pocket, auto on the 360 camera, auto on my phone for most of its decisions, because it's generally making pretty damn good decisions lately.
Well, and then I think it's also a product of having such good depth, or I guess enough information in the sensors, that even if it isn't, changing it after the fact doesn't look wretched. You know? There's still quite a bit of flexibility even in finished JPEGs now, which is bananas.
I shot RAW in Peru, DNGs on the Pixel, and they look fantastic. Talk about recoverability of like highlights. I'm shooting directly into
bananas.
a sunset, like recovering shadows like crazy.
My phone.
They're getting really good, and
Which is mostly crazy because people always talk about how the software, it's like, oh, it's just a lot of really good software. And it's like, it is good software, but also, like, the software didn't allow for this dynamic range. You know, like, that's insane.
Yeah, that's definitely sensor quality. And that's getting more and more popular, and I feel like it's been this, like, I don't want to say fear in our industry, but like it's definitely affected our industry. Like, more people are capable of taking decent quality photos because of the quality of their phone cameras improving. And what's really getting interesting now is not only trends in LED lighting, but getting those connected with flash.
Yeah.
So those are two things. Like, first off, we've seen a little bit of like flash trying to connect with a phone. And
which somebody did ask if they're still trying to figure out how to connect their Godox to there.
Here's the massive problem. It's not the lighting's fault. It's that these use an electronic sensor that require you to be below the entire sensor readout speed before you're actually going to see that flash in the photo. Yeah. So readout speed, we're talking 1/15th, 1/30th of a second, somewhere in there. That's the shutter speed that you would have to be below, so that it stays open the entire readout period, and then your flash would actually show in the image. So basically, if you wanted to try and use flash outdoors on a phone right now, you would need 8 stops of ND on your phone.
Yeah, well, then
also not an elegant
now you're
solution
talking
for it.
about like an even crazier version of high-speed sync then at that point, right? Because you'd need a much longer burst, right? Did I do that math wrong?
No,
Okay.
it would.
It's just a timing issue then.
Yeah, I mean, your ambient light would be passing though along
At
that
that
time,
point, that's
so
a
it
good
wouldn't
point,
be being frozen by ambient. So yeah, it just presents all these challenges right now. But we're seeing, if you guys saw, I did the FV150 video. We're seeing LED flash start to work its way up. It's got a long way to go before it's anywhere close to the portability and power of flash. But
For non-flash usage.
yeah, but it's getting more and more capable, and I think there's still a lot of room for it to grow. Right now, most of it's on a 400 to 500% overcharge, meaning whatever that LED chip can consistently hold a output of, it can do 4 times that or 5 times that for a brief moment of time. And if they can get to 10 times or 20 times and start getting shorter durations of light, you've essentially got something that can compete with flash and will be right on the level of a similarly sized product in high-speed sync. So once that actually happens, then you've got a system that is much more capable, because it's not such a dramatic curve, it's a flat pulse of light, that is going to be more compatible with electronic shutters. And we'll be able to see phones start to do them. I believe there was an article this week about the first made-for-iPhone flash.
Yeah.
Right? And
Which
it's
I'm
like a
very
battery
curious
developer.
about.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't see why I would limit myself to like the interface of a phone if I'm trying to use flash, if I'm using all these other flash products as well. But for someone who can only afford a phone camera, like they already have the phone and they can't afford another camera, maybe they're going to start looking to that opportunity if it's made available to them. Don't laugh, I've used the LED flashlight as a simple constant light. Yeah, I've done it. I've used it for ring photos before. I've used it to get focus. Like, the utility of it is there. So
In special use cases, it's great.
it's $50 for the flash too, I think. The phone flash that you're talking about, Francisco, the made for iPhone one. Dude, just wait till Apple is like realizes that there's a market for that.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have
And
some...
buys Profoto.
Oh, so quickly. Yeah. No,
I will say, and then somebody says, there's a couple comments about like, oh, the iPhone is great too. I don't think either one of us is saying Google Pixel is the future. Like, it wasn't good until Google Pixel, like across the board. Even if you check out like DxOMark, and they're like top 10 mobile cameras, Pixel 4 isn't even the top 5. And it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And the 11 Pro, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, the 11
I don't
Pro
know,
camera
the
is
naming
phenomenal. It is phenomenal. But what's crazy too is they even have machine learning and like AI now to do processing for theirs, which technically I think is probably the basis of the Google Pixels, like Magic. But some of the stuff that they're doing with it for like night modes and even just like color renditions in the 11 Pro outside of night modes is actually pretty magical, which I think is probably the real slice of the future, of computer of cameras, is putting machine learning into sensor readouts to make like perfect raw data, like having it be customized.
yeah, at that
per
point, you're
image.
basically like drawing. It is basically illustrating photos.
Yeah.
It's gonna get to that point where it's able to kind of give you a shape, and then just go from there and kind of write in what the pixels should be,
Yeah.
and then give you raw versions of those pixels so that you can later manipulate it.
And then when we get past file type limitations of JPEG and RAW, getting something that has like a Litro level amount of changeability after the fact, like changing focus and changing, having it be so wide open. Because I think that'll be another big push, and maybe I'll just save it for 2020, but it's getting past our like file structures.
Yeah.
That'll be a big one, I think.
Looking forward.
Are we there yet?
Yeah, I mean, we were gonna talk.
Yeah, we talked
I
about
don't even
the
want to talk
Insta.
about that lens, because we haven't used it. It's
We could
goofy.
do a video
but
on it. Like,
yeah.
they've got a couple.
Forget you, Lawa.
Layawa.
All right, so I mean, we've got upcoming rumor that I find interesting is rumored Nikon D780 DSLR.
What's weird though is all the articles I saw very casually mentioned that it's DSLR, where it's like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That your like rumored next camera is a DSLR. That's a big deal, and it's just like, oh, by the way, it's
Yeah, dual UHS-2, better high ISO performance than the D850. It's less megapixels. It's not very surprising. 105 focus points. Cool. That seems like nothing these days.
And a DSLR, that's great. Although I also don't care, because I've heard that so many times with like focus groups and focus clusters and having like 53 to 100 points, like on a Canon like Mark IV, and it's like, cool, I got 50, and they're right there in the center.
Yeah.
Which serves me very little purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh, great, I can move around more accurately.
It's like, oh, if I couldn't move this 1 inch off of center, damn. Bad camera. But I am kind of, I don't know. I think it says a lot about a question that I always have, which is like the number of times that we scratch our heads and wonder, why the hell is this company doing something, like making this decision, and then having to leverage that with the fact that that's technically all they do, and nobody does it technically better than them, and it's like, is there somebody that we could talk to that could say, like, well, the reason we're making one more DSLR is because blank, and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, when it's so easy to say, like, fucking freaking switch, you know?
Yeah.
It just, there's got to be something that we're not seeing, because it's so easy for people to say, like, another DSLR? Are you serious? Like,
I mean, to me, I don't understand why they weren't more advantageous about progressing the D750 line in 2018.
yeah.
Like, I think we're at 5 years on the D750 now, and it's
still
widely
pretty
considered
good.
such a fantastic camera that you would think that they would have like made a successor to it just to like get more people to upgrade. Like that could have, I don't think that would have kept me Nikon, but like that was one of the reasons I was like, I either
harder.
have to go up to the D850 or stay with the D750.
Go up to the camera that I can't find.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't buy the DSLR that is available to me. So like, I don't know, Nikon's just made some head scratching decisions as a business.
That's the problem, though, is like after a while they still stay head scratching. So it's like, can they be explained away?
Right.
Or is there just so much like complacency at a certain point where it's just, I mean, for Canon, I feel like that's a big issue, is complacency, where they're like, with our like, what are they called? Like the T2i, they're like APS-C line of cameras. I feel like buoy them so heavily with like tourists and like, you know, consumer, just hobbyists, you know, that it's like our professional cameras, there's no way that's their moneymaker at all. It's probably not even a significant portion of like, you know, markup for them. So I get why they aren't as like eager to do it, but for Nikon it's like that's not all you do, because they obviously do like a lot of optic stuff and a lot of like non-camera stuff, but it seems like it's a much higher percentage of like their sales. So what is holding you back? Like, is there some sort of business like mentality that you're refusing to budge on? Like, what is the issue?
I don't know. They're kind of like stranded right now. They really need to innovate more. I mean, I think that they did well enough with the Z6, Z7. Lens lineup could use some work, and dual card slots, and I think you've got a winner. But like, how fast can you adapt before everybody switches to something else? That's a big concern. I mean, the same camera feel. I either love or hate my Nikon. I love my D90, hated the D7000, love my D750. D750 to me was like probably the most meaningful camera that I ever owned.
Yeah.
I
mean, it like is impressive even as somebody who's never used Nikon. Like just seeing the results that people get with it and using RAWs that are shot with it, and like it's just clearly a behemoth. You know?
Yeah. So upgrading that, the shirts they give out for conventions were nice material.
Where were we going with that?
We were just talking about what we were looking for in 2020, but
we started with rumors, because there's the Canon rumor as well, which I don't think I can bother you to be interested. Oh,
not that I think I need to go.
Did you get a message from
Yeah.
Rebecca? Word.
We
got an unwell pup, which takes precedence.
Yeah, I have a dog emergency, so I think I'm gonna cut this short.
We can do a separate one of these on the future.
Yeah,
I feel like we could do a whole thing on the future.
Yeah, we could talk about everything that we're looking for. Classes, are you offering any in 2020? Probably not. I just feel better about making videos these days, and I really need to
At least
be doing that more.
Hopefully, this will be the year I put out my like from the ground up Lightroom and like Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully that happens, and then possibly even for Capture One, now that it's become an incredibly viable option.
Yeah.
You know, with their newest update.
Yeah, so maybe some post stuff, but yeah, I don't really plan on doing that too much. I just get so caught up in making the videos and still have a ton of work volume. There goes nice and more hair on Rob's face, but more on Alex's arms.
His is just lighter. Well, maybe I'm pretty.
He's
hairy.
also further away from the light. We intentionally. It's funny. I'm actually darker than Alex. But it just doesn't look like it because I'm on the bright side of the image.
Yeah, by design.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to get going. We will do another one of these in the future. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hey, nah, if I cut it off, it's disappeared. Thanks, guys. Bye. Oh, I turn this off. Do I hit?